I'm Cindy Bertram. Thanks for joining me today on Good Ship Happens. And it's been a really interesting week. A very positive week, which is great. But one thing that came up, I'll talk about it more later, is the christening of the new Royal Caribbean ship, Utopia of the Seas, took place on July 15th. And she was christened actually in Port Canaveral. So, and they're doing shorter cruises. I'll share more about that later on in my episode. But how fun to have a new ship and seeing it on Port Canaveral, which is great. As Port Canaveral, I think I mentioned before, it's about an hour or so away from Orlando. It's easy to get to in Orlando, and you just drive over there too. But it's a great port. They're adding more port areas in that area too, which is great. But just great to see it really growing, which is great too. It's another port to consider if you're thinking about maybe taking a cruise out of Florida, because you can take cruises, of course, out of Miami. Port Miami is like the mainstay. That's where the cruise industry really started years and years ago, over 50 some years ago. And of course, you've got beautiful Fort Lauderdale, which I love too. It's great. It's about maybe 35-40 minutes north of Miami, but still a beautiful area. The port's beautiful. And they're in the process of building a new hotel right there too, which is great, at their convention center, which is right close to the port area. And of course, you can sail out of Tampa, but then Port Canaveral is great too, plus other cities. But I'll share more about that too. And something else that came up this week, which I think is really fun. Does anybody like pizza? Pizza? Well, you can get pizza on a cruise ship, of course, too. They have great pizza options too, of course. But Princess Cruises just set a new Guinness World Record. Okay, they just did it. July 12th, they did it. What they did was they actually had the world's largest pizza party at multiple venues on board their different ships, with hungry guests devouring more than 60,000 slices of pizza. So it was really fun too, because with Princess Cruises, they're known as a Love Boat, but they also celebrated a new partnership with a 13-time World Pizza Champion chef, Tony. I think it's pronounced Gemariani, but so anyway, the best pizza at sea is about to get better. But how fun to have a Guinness World Records record holder, and they just, with Princess Cruises, they celebrated a new partnership with Chef Tony. And he's actually a 13-time World Pizza Champion. He's really, really undisputed greatest pizza maker in modern history. And so Princess Cruises was recognized for the best pizza at sea, and to establish that new Guinness World Record holder, which is great too. But 60,000 slices of pizza, which I think is so fun. And I know some people work with Princess Cruises. It was really fun. They shared their stories too. One actually works in their communications PR department, but he worked there too, which is great too. But what they did was, with Chef Tony, he created 2 pizzas exclusively for Princess Cruises, which is great. And they include exciting blends of savory flavors and premium ingredients like, I think it's pronounced, well, this is kind of strange, prosciutto sausage, and hot honey to agapesto, and also fresh goat cheese. He also provided recipes for these with three of the signature award-winning pizzas, and that really kind of enhanced the lines. Princess Cruises for offering the best pizza at sea too, and it was really I think fun thing for them to do. And of course, for the Guinness World Records title for the world's largest pizza party at multiple venues, and of course their multiple venues are on their different ships, right? And with Chef's Tony's Pizzas, I think it's pronounced Germanani's. These recipes they actually debuted in alfrescos on board the new Sun Princess, and added to their other culinary experiences at sea too. And I know that with Chef Tony Jeremini, sorry, he personally trains those chefs too, which is great, for his famous Tony's Pizza, which is great. So, and he's really, I think, the most decorated they call me Pizza Oslo in American history, award-winning chef, restaurateur, master instructor, philanthropist, and also he's the founder of Slice House by Tony Giornami, and he's author of Pizza, the Pizza Bible. I like that, the Pizza Bible, and also then he wrote, I think, the Pursuit of Pizza. He was actually born and grew up in Northern California. He opened his first restaurant in San Francisco back in 2009. It was Tony's Pizza Napoletano, offering different slices of pizza that included classic American, Italian, Sicilian, and Neapolitan, which are really crafted with different types of flours and sauces and seasonal ingredients too. And finish up with 7 different regionally specific types of ovens too, which is great. So I think it's kind of fun that they did this special thing where they had 60,000 slices of pizza. So they hit the Guinness World Records, which is great too. And that was fun too, as John Paget, who's the president of Princess Cruises, mentioned that Princess is really all about delivering a great experience, and there's no more important element than pizza. And while Princess has long been known for having the best pizza at sea, we decided to take it up to an entirely new level with legendary Tony Giorgani, and also set a Guinness World Records title in the process, which is great too. So I think that's really kind of fun too. Actually, in his career, Chef Tony has actually achieved 13 World Pizza Championships, which is great. A 2-time Food Network gold medalist, also 4 Guinness World Records titles and records, and opening up more than 30 restaurants, which is great. He's also appeared on multiple reality television shows, including the Food Network Challenge, also Bar Rescue, and he also appeared on the Master Class Goat series, the Travel Channel, and also with CNN. But it's great, and just really, really kind of fun too to think about that too. So next time you think about sailing, I think you maybe should consider Princess Cruises, because they're well known for having the best pizza at sea. So keep that in mind. I don't think anybody's going to be able to set that type of record again for a long time, but how fun that Princess Cruises is another record holder for the Guinness World Records of having the world's largest pizza party at multiple venues across the Princess Cruises ships, which is great too. And of course, letting people devour more than 60,000 slices of pizza. Okay, so I think maybe tonight, maybe what you want to have for dinner might be pizza, right? I don't think you find Chef Tony's Pizza around here, but once again, just kind of keep it in mind too. It's just a good way to kind of laugh, have fun, and just think about fun things that come up on cruise ships too, because they do great things as far as cuisine, having phenomenal chefs that they partner with over the years, and Chef Tony's one example. And it's just great what they do as far as the food dining experiences too. But I thought that was really, really fun to share today in Good Ship Happens, right? Something else that came up today too, I ran across this. I thought this was really fun. Who likes dogs? I love dogs. I don't have one now. I have, of course, Miss Zoe, my puppy niece. I twisted her paw. We wrote a book together called Message from the Dog, Learning to Rate Humans, where I included famous people I've interacted with over the years. And a few included, of course, Herb Kelleher, the founder, former chairman of Southwest Airlines. He sent me 2 letters back in 2001. And he's since been gone for a couple of years, but I got thank you letters from top execs, but also famous people I've interacted with too. But also, another dog lover is actually Steve Perillo. And Steve Perillo is the president of Perillo Tours. It's a 3rd-generation tour company. They focus, of course, in Italy and other places too. But what they did was, yes, he's a dog lover. Okay, and what he did was they just announced this really, really fun thing. It's called their Dog Days of Summer Photo Sweepstakes. Yes. So what you can do is show off the pup, who is the Romeo of your heart. Okay, and he shared a picture, of course, him with his dog. It's really cute. Let me see if I can share this with you too right now. But it's really cute. But he's a dog lover. He has his dog with him at work all the time, but that's actually his dog. But how cute, right? But they just announced this is a special competition, and you can actually enter it in order to have a chance to win a trip to Italy for two people, which is great. And he just said that this is for their travel advisors, which is great. And he just said what they do is his furry pet's name is Romeo. Okay, but once again, remember Pearl of Tours actually I think got their origin in Italy with tours and things too, and they're still family owned. And of course, he runs he's been running the company for years. He's a great person. What they did was he showcased his furry pal Romeo several times, of course, and Steve Pearl is well known for having his dog Romeo with him all the time too. And if you don't have, he just said that your dog could actually be like your companion too, which is great too. So what they did was they mentioned they were doing this Dog Days of Summer photo sweepstakes. What they did was they just announced this, and they said this is for travel advisors, but it really makes people smile too. It says, just snap a photo of yourself with a pup who's won your heart, and you could win the grand prize, Pearl of Tours 10-day Vesuvius tour for two, and then 4 runner-up prize winners will also receive doggy care packages with treats and toys for that special doggy of their life, in their life too, which is great too. And this is a way that they're doing with the sweepstakes. It's a special way that Pearl Tours is a way of saying thank you to travel advisors. They've been so loyal throughout their years, and also it's a well-known travel brand. They've really expanded beyond Italy, which is where they're originally based, as far as their tours. But they also offer tours to Greece, and Spain, and Hawaii. And of course, they just announced this, but once again, don't delay, because he mentions at the end, you have until the end of July to enter your photo, and don't delay. And we all know that Dog Days of Summer and can bring on a case of lazies too, which is great too. But I've got another picture of him with his dog, which is really, really cute. Romeo, his dog. Let me show you this picture of his dog with Romeo. It's cute. That's him with his dog, Romeo. And yes, he's got Romeo at the office quite a bit too. I've heard that, because I've got one business friend who works for him on the site, does other stuff. But how fun, because once again, how fun. Okay, but just please share it with people. If you know a travel advisor, just please share it real quick too. You have to get this entered with a photograph before the end of July. And with Pearl of Tours, they're actually located in New Jersey, which is great too. But just thought that'd be a fun way to kind of share different things too, besides having the Guinness World Book of Records with the pizza, which is great too, but also being able to recognize travel advisors with a special recognition of submitting a picture of you with your famous favorite puppy, but that's great too. So I thought that make you smile. Something else is kind of fun too is we're into Alaska season right now. Okay, Alaska season is gorgeous. It goes all the way from really end of May through the 1st of September. It's a short season, but it's a great place to go to. You can see glaciers calving, just beautiful, amazing. And there are small cities, of course, you can actually see when you're in Alaska on a cruise itself. Also, cruise lines have also set up things too where they've got hotels they work with too. So actually you may be flying and take a pre-cruise tour there first, then take the sailing back and forth. What they did was, what they're doing is Alaska has really recorded more cruise passengers than ever before, even after last year. And what's happened is the growth has really stressed out the locals and the infrastructure. For instance, Juneau, which is beautiful, but I know that mentioned that in June the officials struck a deal with the cruise lines to limit the number of berths starting in 2026. And what they mentioned too was there's another port, by the way, in case you're not familiar with Alaska, but there's another port called Icy Strait Port, but it's icy and then S-T-R-A-I-T, Stracy Port. It's a cruise port that's less than 70 miles from Juneau. And what they're doing is there's been so many crowds with Alaska because cruising is so huge in Alaska. Plus, it's a short season too. But what they're doing now too is they just have been working with some things too, so that cruise lines can actually go to icy Strait Point, and that would help them, of course, manage the growing Alaska demand too, because once again, it's only 70 miles away from Juneau, which is a great place too. So the way to kind of really absorb the state's growing cruise crowds too. And what they do was, saw a really great article that was interviewed Tyler Hickman. He actually is the senior vice president of Icy Strait Point, the cruise port. He kind of mentions some things that they've been working on too, and why it's such a value to as far as that, because you don't think about Icy Strait Point as a place to go to, but it's a port, smaller, but it's just 70 miles away from Juneau, so that's really, I think, fantastic too. And what they're doing now too is, he mentioned, and after 20 years they've really been growing. They've got actually 2 cruise ship docks. And something else that's fun to share too is they actually have gondolas that spread people out to get them into all the place of Alaska too. How fun, because once again, when you see ships arrive, you don't see buses, you don't see parking lots, and you don't see busy downtown areas. You see the wilderness. I think that's amazing, because once again, having gone to Alaska myself, I mean, just sailing there was beautiful. Different places we went to, but once again, you could do shore excursions, see smaller places too, which is great. But like I said, once again, with their 2 cruise ship docks, okay, that's 2 places where cruise ships can actually dock. What they're doing is, they asked him, okay, can you accommodate more than 2 ships? And he said, we'll have some days at sea. We'll have some days where we actually have up to 5 ships in port. But it's more about the arrival times of these ships too, because sometimes the ships might go back to back on the dock days, and the property is very, very huge. Their parent company is actually called Huna Totem, which owns 32,000 acres of land all around Icy Strait Point. And it's private land, which is great, because once again, they've got the ability to really design it so that people can experience it and spread people out. I think that's great too. And also, they put in their second cruise ship dock that opened in 2021, and they actually put it a half a mile away from the first dock because they could, which is great. And this is great because then you can see that everybody else would have just stacked things up too on top of each other. In this case, they don't. With Juneau, I know that Juneau is actually capping lower berths. As far as lower berths, that means cabins based on double occupancy. What they're capping the number of guests cruise ships can actually go to Juneau certain times. So as far as what this means for Icy Strait Point, it really is a benefit, because once again, they are close to Juneau, 70 miles away. Plus, they have still plenty of space for capacity, and they've got open days available, and they can take guests and give them a great experience that you just can't get anywhere else. And it's very different than just walking into a busy downtown area as you stop off a ship too, which is great. So I think that's really, really fun. And as far as the reaction to what Juneau was doing as far as the berth capacity, limiting X amount of people that could actually be able to get off in Juneau on cruise ships, there is a great interest in bringing more ships here because they can do it at Icy Strait Point. And it still gives people a really beautiful experience too. And you hear about the communities around Alaska which are pushing back from the number of cruise guests, passengers, from the residents too. Because once again, I think, but like I said, part of it is really the private port experience too. With what they're doing, of course, in Icy Strait Point, the good thing is they're about a mile and a half from town, so probably 20 to 25% of the guests will actually independently go into town. It's called Huna. It's Hoonah, Huna. And it doesn't really impact the community like it does in other places too, because once again, many local businesses have really flourished and have built businesses off the industry. The fun thing about Huna, which is actually the town, okay, that's about a mile and a half from the port area, the private port area, actually just has a population of 921 people. Yes, 921 people. And they mentioned that last year the economic impact from the cruise port was more than $12 million to the community, which is great too. And as far as plans to build maybe additional ports or berths, Huna Totem is the port development business. And what they're doing is they're opening a port in Whittier this summer. It's going to be a turnaround port, and that place he mentions is very spectacular, and they're really looking forward to getting it open. They also did open Port Clawrock, which on Prince of Wales Island, and they got that open this year, which is great. They're looking at doing more too. And as far as once again, somebody asked him a question, was being interviewed, is there a need to tap brakes as far as cruising volume in Alaska? Well, he mentions he doesn't think Alaska really needs to tap the brakes at all, so to speak. He thinks there's still good demand, and also that what they do there is they can really help cruise companies with different itineraries that are a little bit more out of the unusual too, which is great too. I mean, before there was a lot of hesitations for cruise ships to go and not include Juneau or Skagway, but there are companies that do it and they love it. But also, once again, is some feedback too is you don't necessarily have to always go to Ketchikan, Juneau, Skagway in every itinerary. And what's great too is what they're doing at this Icy Strait Point. It's really, really, it sounds beautiful. I've not seen it, of course, yet, but I have heard positive feedback on it. And like I said, it's a cruise port which is 70 miles away from Juneau, but also it provides different options and a little bit more exclusive things too, so you're not just seeing thousands of people getting off a ship too, which is great too. So keep that in mind too, because as far as Alaska, I think this provides a really, really great option when you think about maybe doing Alaskan cruise. But think about, if you're finding an itinerary, maybe check into seeing if anybody goes to Icy Strait Point. Okay, because it sounds like it just really, really fills another need out there too, as far as Alaska cruising too, more than ever. So check into it, because once again, what I thought was great too is they've got 2 cruise ship docks right now, plus they're spaced out, and what they're doing is they do have days where they will have up to 5 ships in port, but once again, it goes back to when the ships are going to arrive too, so they won't always arrive at the same time and leave at the same time, which is another benefit too. Also, with the parent corporation, Huna Totem, they actually own 32,000 acres of land all around Icy Strait Point, which means it's a private land, so they can actually have the capability to really design that experience too. So definitely keep in mind too, if you're thinking about Alaska, I think that's just a phenomenal thing to think about too. Okay, and then something else I want to bring up too. I know we had some really, really bad weather storms. I live outside the Chicago area. We did have some tornadoes hit down too, like crazy over Sunday and Monday. I wasn't personally affected myself. I did go into lower level too, but also I know that this just came up today. It's really affected airline travel, so definitely keep this in mind. I guess it was a global tech outage that really was caused by an update from cybersecurity company, CrowdStrike, and it really kind of wreaked some havoc when it came to multiple industries today, early Friday morning, this morning too. According to FlightAware, they mentioned there have been over 3,000 flights that were delayed in and out of the United States on Friday, and also another 1,300 plus cancellations too. And they mentioned also globally nearly 24,000 flights have been delayed. Yeah, I know that people, when the tornadoes were coming into the Chicago area, they did close down airports O'Hare and Midway, and people had to stay there to be very safe, and of course they canceled flights. But that just came up. This is something separate that came up too, as far as this cybersecurity technical outage, which came up too. And once again, like I said, they already started to do a fix that's been deployed, and I guess the update they were doing some kind of update, and it caused Microsoft Windows to crash. And once again, it did have major airlines actually, including, of course, American, United, Delta, grounded flights worldwide. And what they're doing is just important that these delays and cancellations don't trigger the U.S. Department of Transportation's recent ruling that airlines have to promptly provide passengers with automatic refunds. But once again, they're working through this technical problem too. So just keep that in mind too. And also, that brings up something else I want to mention too is when you do fly, take a trip, it's important to get insurance, okay? I mean, when I take my cruise vacations, I always purchase travel insurance myself. I buy a policy, right? But also, there are some great travel insurance companies. What they do too is they actually have a year-long travel insurance policy. I've got one too, separately. It's good for a year. I'll be renewing it in October again too. Once again, something comes up, or you have some issues that come up, then definitely I think it's important to think about that too. And the reason I got this special year-long policy is when things were just kind of getting through the COVID-19 situation, and sometimes you had flights that got canceled, misconnected, whatever had that come up with myself in 2022. But thank goodness I had a travel insurance policy for my trip, my cruise. But once again, I purchased another one separately. It's good for a year. Allianz is one great travel insurance company. They have the year-long policy that I purchased besides my one when I take my cruise vacations. Travel Guard's another one, but definitely think about getting some kind of travel insurance policy too, because it's separate. You get stuck somewhere, you can find a way to get reimbursed for the out-of-pocket expenses too. In my case, when I had a flight that took off late, over an hour late, I had a connecting flight, and I got into landed on my one airport. We landed right when the other flight was taking off. I missed my flight, but luckily I had my travel insurance policy. I was able to get a hotel, got reimbursed by filing a claim. So definitely keep that in mind, because once again, there's some issues that come up with flying. You just don't know what's going to happen. It's better to be safe and just be very, very proactive, okay? And but definitely check into, of course, definitely get insurance policy when you're taking a trip. It's always best to use a neutral vendor, like a travel insurance company, not necessarily purchase it through the company you're actually going to be traveling with. Not too bad about them, but it goes back to, you wouldn't want to insure yourself against the company that you're traveling with. So I think it's good, because once again, with the travel insurance companies, you've got some great ones out there. They're phenomenal. So definitely think about that too as another option, because once again, issues come up all the time. So definitely when you are taking a cruise vacation, get travel insurance just for that trip. It's separately. They have policies if you are traveling, and it's a year-long policy. I purchased one. This is the second one. I just renewed it last year. I'll renew it again, of course, this year in October. But definitely think about that, because we've had so many issues that came up with, like this outage too, which came up too. And then, of course, sometimes a good example would be the tornadoes that came through, because it canceled flights, of course, for very safe reasons too. But definitely think about that too, because you've got options out there more than ever, and it's really, really needed too. And of course, that's where I think also working with and booking through a travel advisor really, really provides great options, because having worked as a travel advisor myself, how I got into the industry, they share really, really great tips, insider tips and things in a very transparent way, just so you are getting the best experience ever. You don't have to frantic or worry about different things too. And then something else that I'll be sharing more about with too is Royal Caribbean's new ship, Utopia of the Seas, was just christened, of course, this week on July 15th, okay? And what they do is, cruise lines have different people that christen the ships. They're called, godmother is usually a woman chosen. Sometimes they've actually had a godfather. Yes, they do. And it's a great way. What they do is they select a person to christen the ship. It's usually a famous person. I've been on different cruise ship christening events myself too. One that came out with Celebrity Edge back around, when was it? I'm trying to think, it was maybe 2018, maybe, I think. But they had Malala christen the ship. She was a godmother. She was, the young lady was actually shot by the Taliban when she's 15, 16 years old, and she has the Malala Foundation. She was a godmother, but also as far as godfathers, I actually had the chance to be on the christening of Norwegian Cruise Line's new ship back around 2015 or 16, and they actually selected Pitbull to be their godfather. And of course, cruise lines have selected godfathers too, but what they did was with Royal Caribbean, and they just announced it a couple weeks ago, they selected a godmother, and it's a very, very famous Grammy Award winning songwriter and singer. Anybody want to guess who they selected? It was actually Meghan Trainor. Yes. She was selected as the ship's godmother to christen the ship, and she actually performed an onboard concert midweek, which I think was fantastic. So what they did was, it's really great because once again with the christening, it was on Utopia of the Seas, and she actually was christened in Port Canaveral, okay. And what she's doing is she's offering, in fact, right now she's on a cruise right now, but she's offering shorter cruises, 3 and 4 night cruises out of Port Canaveral, which is great. And it's just, I think, fun to think about having another godmother as a famous Grammy Award winning singer too. And with the Utopia of the Seas, she's actually the world's second largest cruise ship, okay. And she actually accommodates about 5,668 guests on board. And she actually sailed out of her new home port, Port Canaveral. And she's offering 3 and 4 night voyages to the Bahamas, which include their Perfect Day at Coco Cay. And that's their private out island. They call it Perfect Day at Coco Cay in the Bahamas. But it's really been designed, I think, and the reason they maybe selected Port Canaveral also 3 and 4 night cruises is because it's a way to kind of draw in new to cruise people, maybe not cruised before, okay? And maybe some people that have maybe not sailed on Royal Caribbean, so it's good. And I think it's kind of fun to think about that too, because how fun to have a godmother who's a Grammy Award winning singer. And of course, she sang for a concert, of course, and I think it's kind of fun. Some things about the ship too, so you might not know about, but it's like I said, their Public Day at Coco Cay, and what's fun too is they've got fun things to do there too during the day. The ship docks right there; people get off, but they've got places for kids to enjoy different things too. Because once again, one thing that came up with Michael Bailey, who is the president, and also Jason Liberty, who's the chairman, just mentioned, as far as Perfect Day at Coco Cay, they just kind of mentioned that tell your kids they can go on the tallest water slide in North America. And it has really just unbelievable experiences for people to enjoy with multi-generational families too, which is great. And that's great too, because what they're doing too is they're also doing another private port island in the Bahamas next year. It's going to be Royal Beach Club Paradise Island. That's going to come in next year, and it's going to add some features. Plus, it's also that island is going to have the world's largest swim-up bar. Okay, but once again, too, it really is great to think about too, because once again, with like I said, with Utopia of the Seas, as mentioned, she came in from overseas first, which is great. And then, like I said, they christened the ship on July 15th, which is great. And they got some new things on Utopia of the Seas too, which is great. It's the first ship in the Oasis class. That's one of their categories that actually has been liquefied natural gas powered, okay, which is great too, because cruise lines have really, really been very, very adamant about getting into neutral conversation too, which is great. And what they do is instead of having a bionic bar in the Royal Promenade, that's been really, really pretty. The bionic bar is one that is usually in the Royal Promenade. I had a chance to experience it when I sailed on Allure Seas a couple years ago myself, but it's really, it's a bar that actually you go into the bar area, and then the bar will actually go up to the top, couple decks up inside, and it goes back down, which is great. Just really, really pretty. But what they did was they've got something new on board. They've got their Pesky Parrot Caribbean Tiki Bar with a wisecracking parrot okay, which is great. And also they got something brand new too. It's called their Royal Railway. It's a family dining adventure. There's a surcharge for it too, but once again, it's looks really fun. I've seen some pictures too. I'll be writing about it too. But tough fun to actually dine on a railroad, but you're not really on the railroad. You're on the ship. And what they've got is they've got their two-story Giovanni's Italian restaurant and wine bar. And they've also got their Asian restaurant, Izumi, which is now located in Central Park. That's their main area. And then they've got new water slides and more. And really, it's got a mixture of great things too, because once again, you've got some really stunning aft solarium suites. And also, it's really got a lot of energy too, which is great too. So keep that in mind. And a bit more about the christening. I've got more about that too, which I want to share right now. Yes. As far as the christening, yes, they, as far as the reviews, whatever, but it's kind of funny because they kind of mentioned that Utopia of the Seas was named in a steamy Port Canaveral party. And what they did was they held it in the Aqua Theater, which is great. It's an outdoor area. They've got actually a pool area too, but they covered up too. But that's where they actually officially named, Meghan Trainor officially named the Utopia Seas. It's a very hot afternoon, of course, on July 15th, okay? But once again, they did a toast after they christened the party, and of course, Michael Bailey, the president of Royal Caribbean, had called Utopia Seas the world's biggest weekend. It's their 6th Oasis-class ship, and it's the first one to actually debut shorter cruises, which is great too. What they did too is, with these festivities for the christening, it kicked off with bagpipers. That's a salute to Royal Caribbean's tradition. And that continued with DJs that are playing streaming rock anthems from Joan Jett's I Love Rock and Roll to Queen's We Will Rock You, and also Nirvana's Smell Like Teen Spirit, and also the Run DMC's Walk This Way. And then people were dancing around, which is great, and all levels of the Aqua Theater, which is beautiful. And they did was they actually had a gigantic inflatable tropical cocktail. And then aqua class swimmers, divers, and aerialists actually put on a splashy show. Because I mentioned they got a pool right there too, which is great. It's a great area for entertainment. And then Royal Caribbean Group Chief Executive Officer Jason Liberty acknowledged Chairman Richard Fain, who was there too. But then, like I said, then Jason Liberty introduced, they call her Super Mom, Meghan Trainor, whose young son and husband were actually there too. And they saluted 52 fans, one for every day of the year, every week of the year, who had won a Royal Caribbean sweepstakes to attend this naming. And then they did was, then there's a large disco ball floated over the crowd, triggering a champagne smash and flurries of people, which is great. Because once again, they do christen the ship with a big bottle of champagne too, okay? And of course, then Meghan Trainor actually performed her debut single. It was her Billboard #1 hot hit about the bass, okay, while strumming a sparkling ukulele too. And then, like I said, then she's going to be giving a concert later on that evening, I think, in the Aqua Theater. It was actually later that week, this week actually. She was on the ship then, and that was in their Aqua Theater, while Utopia was actually alongside at Perfect Day at Coco Cay. So how fun to really kind of think about that new ship being christened by Meghan Trainor. I think that's just so much fun to share about too. And as mentioned, she is sailing, of course, on 3 and 4 night cruises. And it's really the ultimate short getaway. But once again, you can actually do a 3-night or 4-night cruise, which is great. And another place, if people are really interested maybe in taking a cruise, not taking a cruise, or maybe they want to try something new, different cruise ship. But I think it's great because once again, how fun to be able to have, I think, a ship like that sailing out of Port Canaveral too. And once again, I think it's kind of fun that they did that. And of course, I know that on this particular first sailing, which she was on board, she included, festivities during their July 15th preview cruise. And then she performed a concert in the Aqua Theater on July 17th when their ship was actually alongside Perfect Day at Coco Cay. So definitely keep that in mind because that's just fun stuff to do too. A few more tips about Utopia of the Seas, as mentioned. It's got different bars and lounges, and one I really want to link about two more is they've got that, I think the Pesky Parrots is kind of fun to think about too. Also, they've got, let's see, as far as dining, I've mentioned that one thing too is they talked about, oh, which is new too, but that was the, which one was it? That was the, I can't remember the name of it. That was really fun too. The, let's see here. What was it? That's the one that's got can't think of it now, darn it. Oh, let me think about that for a minute here. Can't find it, but once again, it's got the train dining too, which is great too. And also, as far as other amenities too, just more about that too is they've got on board the ship they've got 8 neighborhoods, different areas. Of course, they've got the Aqua Theater, which has entertainment during evening time. Also, during the day when I sailed on Allure of the Seas, which is another Oasis class ship, we had movies we watched during the day, which is great. And a big screen outside and the great comfortable chairs too, which is great. Also, they've got their music hall, and they do, as mentioned, outdoor movies, which is great. They've got rock climbing walls too on board the ship, and they've got the regular Royal Theater for different types of entertainment. Plus, they've got whirlpools. Also, if you really want to think about it, I wouldn't do it myself, but they actually have zip lines, yes. And also, they've got a sports court, which is great. And like I said, they've also got, as far as bars and lounges, they've got they've got their Solarium Bar, which is great. They've got Schooner Bar. They've got the Wipeout Bar. Oh, the new one I wanted to talk about was the Pesky Parrot. I think that sounds like such a fun name, right? And they've got Lime and Coconut. They've also got the Addict. And specialty restaurants, of course, include, of course, they've got Johnny Rockets on board, and they've got Giovanni's Italian. They've also got Chops Grill, and they've got Starbucks, of course, Sugar K. They've got the Mason Jar, and they've got complimentary dining too included. That would include, of course, their Park Cafe, Sorrento's. They've got the Dog House, okay, and they've got their regular dining rooms. They've got Sprinkles, which sounds fun. They've got Windjammer, and also the Park Cafe, plus their Solarium Bistro too. So it's got in total 18 different decks, of course. And as mentioned, her main voyage was just launched. She was christened on July 15th by Megan Trainor, and also it was built in Chantier de l'Antique over in Europe. And as far as the guests, as mentioned, it's 5,668 guests based on double occupancy. Plus, she has a crew, 2,290 crew members, okay? And I think that's kind of fun to kind of share more about that too. And I do have a short video we're going to show about their christening ceremonies in case you want to show that right now. Mark, before I go back to something else, let me know. Because we got some other news that came up too about another cruise line that's going to be sailing out of Philadelphia, which is great too. Okay, this just came up today too as far as Norwegian Cruise Line. What they're doing is, as mentioned, we're seeing cruise lines that sail at different ports. And originally, of course, the cruise industry was sailing out of Port Miami. That was kind of the home of cruise industry when it started over 55 some years ago. But also, what cruise lines, they really have different ports that their ships sail out of. And Norwegian Cruise Line just mentioned this week that they're going to actually be offering some cruises, spring fall cruises in 2026, and their ships are going to be sailing from the port of Philadelphia from spring to fall of 2026, reviving this as a cruise base for the first time in many, many years. That's Norwegian Cruise Line. As far as the ships, they mention April 16th, 2026, Norwegian Jewel will be doing 7 and 9 day cruises to the Bermuda, featuring overnights in Royal Naval Dockyard, and the ship's going to depart from Southport Marine Terminal Complex, and they're going to be develop. And the government's going to be developing a facility to really handle passengers too. And then flying the Bermuda series through August of August 27th. The Norwegian Jewel is going to actually be offering 10 and 11-day cruises to Canada and New England. Cruises are going to be alternating with embarkations between Philadelphia and Quebec. This includes Saguenay, Charlottetownville, Halifax, and Boston. And as far as returning and sailing out of Philadelphia, they mentioned that, I didn't realize this, but really, they haven't had really any major ships since 2011, which had sailed out of Philadelphia, Norwegian Cruise Line. So they mentioned that really they've had few cruise lines that sailed between 2006 2011, that period, but then the business kind of tailed off, so they decided not to really continue cruise operations that time for a bit. But once again, Philadelphia really offers a nice option for residents that are in the Mid-Atlantic that want to be able to access cruising. And once again, Norwegian Cruise Line is going to be the only cruise line sailing from Philadelphia through October 17th of 2026. And they mentioned a bit more about their thoughts about doing this, because once again, it really provides different experiences for their guests at Norwegian Cruise Line to experience. And once again, David Herrera, who's the president of Norwegian Cruise Line, mentioned that we're particularly proud to partner with the Philiport, which is Philadelphia, their port, to launch cruising in the area, making it even more accessible for people that are in the U.S. Mid-Atlantic region too. And also, they just mentioned, Philadelphia's got so much to offer too, because once again, this service really kind of rounds things out too, and it's really another way for the growth to continue too. So definitely keep that in mind, because once again, we've got different ports that are growing that maybe weren't growing before as much, but Philadelphia is really coming back up too, with Norwegian Cruise Line having one of their ships sail there. That's great too. Also, as mentioned, we've got more ships sailing out of Port Canaveral, and as mentioned, Utopia of the Seas is one, a brand new cruise ship that was just christened on July 15th by Meghan Trainor, their godmother. And also we've got ships that still sail out of Miami, Fort Lauderdale, also Tampa area too, but also another area that's been growing like crazy too is with Texas. Galveston has been growing, and we've seen new ships christened and sailing out of there. I know with Carnival Cruise Line, they had their newest ship christened and sailing out of Galveston earlier this year, which sounds fantastic. And also, when you think about Alaska, some options would be Alaskan cruises. You can actually depart Alaskan cruise from either Seattle, which is in the U.S., or Vancouver, which is in Canada. Where before, years ago, in order to do Alaskan cruise, you had to sail to Vancouver or maybe fly up further north and then take a southbound Alaskan cruise. But once again, we've got options now. The Seattle port is really growing like crazy in a very, very positive way. Plus, you're in the U.S., which is great, and it's easier to get to. And of course, you've got Vancouver, which is great too. And you've got some cruise lines that actually built arrangements. They've got different places for people to actually maybe do a pre-cruise stay, maybe further north, and then take the cruise southbound or northbound. So keep that in mind too. But it's great to think about options out there too, more than ever, because once again, I think, reviving Philadelphia really provides another option for people to think about too. So keep that in mind too, because we've got different sailings going on and more ships being built. I try and keep track. It's been kind of crazy in a very good way as far as new ships coming out. I know that with Explorer Journeys, that's a luxury cruise line owned by them. It's actually MSC parent corporation, but they got their Explorer 2 coming out later on this fall. It's luxury, very small ship. Their Explorer 1 came out last year, but it's bringing their Ocean Life to Sea as their mindset motto. Very, very luxury, small ships, but their second ship, called the Explorer 2, is going to be debuting, I think, in September this year. And of course, we've got ships coming out next year. I know that a new one is with the MSC Cruises. They've got a new ship coming out next year, and she'll be sailing, I believe, out of I can't remember if she's going to be Port Miami or Fort Lauderdale. I can't remember. That's that's their new ship coming out next year too. But it's fun to keep on top of different cruise ships coming out. You've got new ones, and you've got options as far as where you want to see a lot of too. Also, big ships and smaller ships. And another option too, of course, is we've got a lot of growth when it comes to river cruising too. It's growing. Good example of that is with AMA Waterways. They actually just celebrated their 22nd anniversary, and they are still family owned, which is great too, because they came with the idea. Rudy Schreiner, who is the co-founder, owner, and president, was known as the architect of river cruising. He actually had come over, great story. He came over to the U.S. after being born, I think in Austria, or Germany, I can't remember. But he came over and he actually got hooked in travel, started writing whatever. He actually had a trip that he had to do down in South America, but while there, he actually built a raft. Got a background in architecture, and they decided to relocate to the U.S. and was in New Orleans. He worked with the people studying maybe the concept of river cruising, and then later on he helped start another river cruise line, and he actually just had discussions with a gentleman who actually was president of a tour company, and they came up with the idea to maybe launch and create on waterways. And then Christine Clarence, that had actually worked for American Express, came to the U.S. herself, and had actually talked to Rudy about working with him, and then they pulled him in by their partners, and they successfully launched AMA Waterways. They've just celebrated their 22nd year, but it's great because once again, they launch with river cruising in the European rivers, plus they've expanded. One example, of course, is they do now river cruises, plus I know that coming up this end of this year and next year, they're actually going to be doing some cruises on the Columbia River. And it sounds fantastic. Been very, very busy, but I will share more about that later on too. But just, I think it's a phenomenal way to really kind of see that area too. And we have other river cruise lines that are really fantastic ones to think about too as far as options. But once again, with the river cruise industry, it's another way to really, really kind of experience Europe in a great, great way too. So keep that in mind too. Mark, you ready to show that video I sent a link for about the christening of Utopia of the Seas? I think it's a great video, and I actually had a chance to look at it myself too when I found it. It's a short clip of the actual christening naming ceremonies too, but I think it's really kind of fun to share it too. So we'll end out with that too. I now bless this ship and everyone who's sailing on it. Come on, everybody, let's count it down in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We did it, everybody! We dare you to see a tornado big weekend together. Give it up for the Wicked Freedom! Was short, but that was a great way to kind of celebrate the christening and naming of the Utopia of the Seas. So definitely, if you think about taking a cruise, that might be one option because it looks like a great ship. And of course, they've got a new ship coming out next year, Star of the Seas, that will be similar to Icon Seas, which is the biggest cruise ship ever built. With this ship, Utopia Seas, it's an Oasis class ship, a little bit smaller. But once again, with the Star of the Seas coming out next year, which is a sister ship to the Icon Seas. I think I mentioned this, but they're going to have another officer on board this ship. Yes, on Utopia the Seas, no, not Utopia Seas, but with Star of the Seas, they're going to have another chief dog officer. And when I was talking to Michael Bailey, the president of Royal Caribbean, I was at a conference and I met him in the press room chatting before he had to go into a meeting, but he mentioned that they've got another chief dog officer coming on board their Star of the Seas next year, and she's a chief dog officer. She's got Golden Retriever, and her name is going to be called Sailor. So keep that in mind. I don't know what month she's coming out in 2026 or 2025, but once again, Star of the Seas will have Sailor on board the ship, which is really fun too. Yes. So keep that in mind too. Because once again, with their chief dog officers, it's a new position, but once again, their chief dog officers don't have to worry about driving the ship with two paws, okay? But their chief dog officers are brought on board to really create fun and happiness for their guests on board the ship too. So let's just do that too, okay? But thanks so much. Keep this in mind for next year too. Once again, exciting things going on right now with different ships and different options too. So definitely keep it in mind.
I'm Dr. Sylvia Earle, a marine biologist, oceanographer, explorer, and I'm passionate about the protection of this blue planet. I grew up next to the ocean in the Gulf of Mexico, and I've witnessed how much the ocean has changed and how marine life has been endangered. But I know there is still time to help the ocean, which is why I was drawn to the Aponte family's sustainability mission. Explorer Journeys has a genuine ambition to connect people with the wonders of the sea, its marine life, its communities, spiritually, physically, and intellectually. We share the same values and have the same objectives to deepen people's relationship with the ocean, to explore, protect, and restore. Explorer Journeys calls it the ocean state of mind, a sensibility that will ensure the protection of this precious blue planet. Through my foundation, Mission Blue, we're working on ocean conservation, inspiring hope with champions across the world. Beginning with my extraordinary role as godmother to Explorer One, we will be heralding a meaningful collaboration between myself, Mission Blue, and Explorer Journeys and the MSC Foundation towards preserving and restoring the world's oceans, the blue heart of the planet.